Wow. Hi guys. So filming from my floor because today we're gonna go through my books. I'm moving, so unfortunately I have to unhaul a bunch of these books, but hopefully if you watch the end of this video, you will see some of the best books that I have ever read and some books which I would never read again. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna start with this top shelf right here, which is 5 books. First one is Take 4 by Kingsbury. I love Kingsbury. If you're a Christian reader, you're gonna like her books a lot. But I also don't really remember this book all that much. So I think I'm still gonna keep it though, because I think I have Take 3. So I'm gonna see if I have it in the rest of this video. So that's a keep. The next book is a book that really disappointed me, but it is YellowFace by R.F. Kuang. I will be donating this book. I actually really disliked this book. So what happened was I read the first little chapter of the book, and spoiler alert, what happens is her friend ends up dying in front of her by choking on a freaking pancake. And so because of that, she finds her friend's story and then she ends up publishing it. And I really wanted it to be a good book, but there was way too much Twitter talk. And Twitter really isn't a big thing right now. So a lot of it just felt like it was a little bit petty. Like the author was trying to almost insert herself into the book, and I really didn't like it. The next book is In This Moment by Kingsbury. I probably still will keep this book. Like I said, I'm trying to get a collection of Kingsbury books. I really don't know which part of the series this is from. One thing that's really hard about Kingsbury is she tends to write, and sometimes her stories don't really go together, so it's a little strange. Oh my gosh, so this one is my favorite series. It's the I Tell You I Love You But Then I Have to Kill You by Ali Carter. If you love spy books, you will love this book. This is one of the best spy sequels I've ever read, and I have, I think, 3 of these books, so this is a definite keep for me. And the last book is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. My friend actually gifted me this book, and I waited so long to read it, but I'm having a lot of trouble working my way through it, so I'm not sure if I should keep it or not. Comment down below, what do you guys do with books that you're not quite sure what to do with? Because I really love her voice, but it's just a really hard book for me to finish right now. Okay, so the next book is actually this book right here. This is a cookbook, so definitely keeping this one. The next book is this book called Cupcake Queen by Heather Helpler. I really love shopping secondhand for books, but this was one of those books that I just really didn't like. I mean, it was okay, but I don't know if I really loved it all that much. So I'm gonna say maybe for this one, and I'm gonna put it in my pile. So I had an obsession with learning Spanish, and one of the things I did when I went to Mexico is that I bought some books that were in Spanish. Now, I'm not at the Spanish chapter book level yet, RIP, please pray for me, but I'm working on getting there. So I have this book, La Lección de August, right here. And Wonder was one of my favorite books as a kid, so I bought it in Spanish. And I think I'm going to try to work my way through it this summer and see if I can pick out some of the words and stuff. So this is definitely one of the ones on my list, so I'm keeping it. The next one is this one. It's called All the Light We Cannot See. I think everybody should read this book. Now, it's a little bit sad, but I think that sometimes the sad books are the ones that teach us more about life. And this is definitely on the list of the best books that you should read in your 20s, because it's all about love and about how to deal when things get really hard. So pick up a copy of this book when you go to your bookstore next. And last but not least is this book by Billy Graham. I feel like a friend lent me this book and I forgot to return it to them, so definitely am not donating it. But to be honest, I don't think I ever read it. Yay! So we got 2 shelves clear. We got 8 to go. Let's keep going. Next, I have 4 different books. So comment down below if you like a video about how I organize my life with ADHD. But one way is using non-digital formats to write this down. All of these are the 4 core pillars of my YouTube channel. So I write down each idea that I have in the corresponding notebook. So like ADHD is red, self-betterment is in the composition book, book writing is in the blue book, and then the green book is singleness. And it really helps me to keep my brain together. So of course, gonna keep these. Next is this book, The Confident Woman by Joyce Myers. I really liked this book, but I haven't read it in a while. Yet I think it's a really good book, so I'm still gonna keep it. The next book is this handbook for reading. And do you guys ever have those books that just make you really nostalgic? Like, this was my book from when I was in like 1st or 2nd grade. And it was, hold on, let me see if I can zoom in. You see that? It's 3-letter words. This is how I learned how to read. So definitely will be keeping this book. Next is this book, Passing Through the Fire. A friend actually gave this to me because she wrote it. And it was a really, really good and emotional book. So definitely keeping that one. So this next book, I've talked about it before, but it is like number 3 on my list of life-changing books to read in your 20s. That is The Secret Power of Speaking God's Word. What I love about this book is like you turn to the little part at the front and it has a list of all the emotions that we feel. Like I see anger, confessions, compromise, emotions, faith, favor, fear. And you turn to the page and it has a bunch of things that you can pray. This book is literally a sword and it's such a good accompaniment to the Bible. So definitely going to keep this book and I hope to pass it along to my children one day. All right, last top shelf, let's go. So this is my favorite series by Kingsbury, and it's called the Bailey Flanagan series because I related so much to it. It's about this girl and she's just trying to navigate her 20s just like me. And the last book made me bawl my eyes out. So I have books number 1, 2, and 3. So we have Leaving. Then we have, we have Leaving is right here. Then Learning. And then finally Loving. And this is like the finale book. You could probably tell what happens because of the cover. But yeah, definitely gonna keep that. And I really just want to, like I said, build a Karen Kingsbury collection. So not getting rid of those anytime soon. Oh, and this is the Take 3 book. Remember I was talking about how I had another Take 4 book and I had the other one of the series. This is the Take 3 book. So yes, definitely keeping it. Then I have another, what you call commonplace book. So this is my year in reviews. Every year I was starting to find that I wasn't remembering what was happening throughout my 365 days. So what I did is I started journaling about it, but I like to keep it in a special journal because sometimes like my journals get all over the place and I can't find them and I get really frustrated. So this way all of them are together. And I've been doing it for what will be 3 years now in December of 2025. And my goal is to kind of fill this up and then be able to look back at it and say, wow, I remember when this happened in 2022. That right there is the top shelf that we just cleaned out. Now we just have about 3 other shelves to clean out. Now let's go to the most aesthetic shelf. This is the shelf that I'm most proud of. Okay, so the first book in this pile is Esperanza Rising. Once again, one of the best books to read in your 20s. What makes Esperanza Rising stick out from all the other books I've read is that it deals with the topic of grief in such an amazing way. Esperanza is a young girl, but I really found myself being able to relate to her in her shoes. Also, it took place in, I think, Mexico, and it was just my favorite book of all time. So I think everybody in their 20s, especially if you're going through change like I am, should get a copy of Esperanza Rising. And I think I've read this book over 12 times. The next book is a book called Drama. This book is by Raina Telgemeier. So one thing you guys should know about me is that I actually really love graphic novels. I know as my big age of 25, I probably should be past my graphic novel phase, but there's just something about being able to flip through a book and not have to spend so much time on it. This one was one of my favorites, and I definitely would rate it like a 9 out of 10. So we're going to keep this book. The next book is called Guts. I'm so excited because I actually got this book for Christmas. And once again, it is one of my favorite books. I'm a little bit enemophobic. I don't deal with vomit. I can't even talk. That's how much I don't like it. I don't deal with vomit very well. And so this book really tackled that subject in a way that made me feel seen and heard. So I definitely love Guts, and I think you should definitely read it. The next book I'll definitely be keeping is Smile by Raina Talamager. I bought this one with my own money. It was kind of expensive, but once again, it was a really good book. She does a really good job of portraying what it feels like to be a teenager in like such a crazy time of life. So definitely love Smile. We'll be keeping it. This book is The Housemaid. My friend got this for me, and it was by far one of the best mystery novels that I've ever read. And so I definitely will be keeping this book, and hopefully I can read it over and over again. Comment down below, do you read your books once and never again, or do you just keep reading them over and over? Because I'm definitely a comfort reader. The next book is Finally 12 by Wendy Mass. Honestly, I'm gonna donate this book. I do like it, but it had too much magic in it, and it was a little wonky and weird for me. Like, it gave that movie, what was it, like Turning 21 or something like that, like where she starts off as a 12-year-old and then she ends up being like 20 years old. It gives that vibe, but like much weirder, and I didn't really like it that much, so I'm gonna donate this one. And last but not least, my queen. I love this book. If you're an entrepreneur, you definitely should pick up this book because you will be inspired. But it's called My Life in Pink and Green. Can you guys tell it's been loved? Like, look at all of the folds in the cover. Look at the wearing on the back. Like, I love this book down. And whenever I feel discouraged about running my business, or like maybe I can't do it, I pick up this book and it's amazing. So this is another book that you should read in your 20s, especially if you like realistic kind of like teen novels. These next books are kind of in the adventure category. The first one is What You Don't Know About Charlie Outlaw. I'm gonna donate this book. I read it once. It was okay, but it was one of those books where you read it and I didn't like the main protagonist all that much. And because of that, it wasn't a fun book to read. I felt like he was a really like selfish person, and he was very movie star-esque. Next is the How to Dork Your Diaries book. I used to love Dork Diaries as a child, and it's still my favorite. There's probably some secrets in here. Comment down below if you want to see a flip through from my old How to Dork Your Diary book, because there's definitely some juicy stuff in here. Definitely keeping that one, by the way. Next is Brush of Wings by Kingsbury. I remember this book broke my heart and shattered my soul. Like, I read it and I was crying so hard. So definitely keeping it. And last one is Diamond Park. This one is a murder mystery book. It had so many twists and turns. Plus it had Spanish slang, so definitely keeping. Okay, so these next 4 books are also kind of in the action. This one is called The 620 Man. My brother recommended this to me, and it's definitely on the list of books to read in your 20s. It is also a murder mystery, so if you're sensitive to murder mysteries, don't read this one. But I thought it was fascinating how they used the train in this novel, so definitely keeping this one. The next one is also one of the best mystery novels I've ever read in my life. It's called Gone Girl. And it's about this girl who like disappears from her husband, and they're trying to figure out like what happened to her. The end is absolutely like so good. 10 out of 10. Definitely keeping. Counting by Sevens. Now stop everything that you're doing right now and write down Counting by Sevens on your list of the books to read in your 20s, because this book, like, I have no words for how good it was, and I can't even really explain it to you without giving spoilers. So definitely Counting by Sevens, one of my favorite, gonna keep forever and ever. And then same with this one, Risa Bartholomew's Declaration of Independence. As you guys can tell, this one is also very worn. The cover's got like chips at all the corners, and it really is a good book all about change, independence, and I love this novel so much, so definitely keeping this one. So I'm gonna try to speed it up just a little bit so we can make it through this video. The next one is called Telma la Unicornio, and I like this book, so I'm gonna keep it. I think children's books are a great way to integrate yourself into another language. La Gallineta Roja. This is my favorite Spanish book, besides this book that I can't find anymore called The Runaway Bunny. I've tried to find it in Spanish, and I'm so sad because they don't like really print it anymore, but I love that book. The next one is Gracias, Thanks. This one is actually a library book, so definitely gonna have to turn that back into the library. That's so embarrassing. Thankfully, school, like the last day of school is tomorrow, so gotta turn that back in. I Need a Hug, Necesito un Abrazo. Definitely gonna keep this one. La Gatita Lucia en Granja, Lucy the Cat at the Farm. I like this one because it gives me a reminder of what all the animals are, so I'll be keeping that one. Un Caballo Blanco no es un caballo. This book, I found it at a like yard sale in Mexico, so it's special for that reason, but I want to read it, so I'm gonna keep it. This one is a book I just got. So easy, so good. I am in love with this YouTuber. She has such good recipes, and this summer I'm going to use her cookbook because I'm so excited. So definitely not giving this one away. The next one is the book, The Pink Parables, The Parables of Jesus from one female perspective. I think this might be like an interesting coffee table read, so keep. And finally, Goodnight Moon, Buenas Noches Luna. Will definitely be keeping. It was one of my favorite books as a child. If you made it to this point, please stop, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get into it again. So the next book is this book called Torch. I actually had somebody I know write this book, and it was a really, really good book. And just because somebody else wrote it, I'm gonna keep it. This book right here, The Last Thing He Told Me. This book had me sobbing. I read it as like a vacation story, and it was just so good. Definitely really sad though, and it teaches a life lesson about what happens when things are inevitable, and sometimes you have to do whatever you can to protect your family. Definitely on this list of life-changing books to read in your 20s. And then, of course, you know, we had to say this one. This is the Women's Study Bible. This has really changed my view of the Bible because now I know, like, God really does value and love women. Let's turn. This next book is Atomic Habits. I think every 20-something-year-old should read this book. It actually was a really good book, hence all the sticky notes and stuff that I have in it. And one day I really want to like go through with a fine-tooth comb and really read this book again, but it was so good. I also have the Healing the Soul of a Woman set by Joyce Myers. This is the devotional, and then this is the main book. I'll definitely be keeping these just for memory's sake. And then I have 31 Prayers for My Future Husband, which I've already read through twice and prayed all the prayers, but I keep it because when I get closer to my future marriage, I'll just continue to pray this book of prayers. Okay, next I have this little notebook. It's just something I use to keep track of my finances, so keeping. And this is my old, this is so embarrassing, it's in 2 parts now, but this is my old YouTube notebook, but I found that this didn't really work for me because like all my ideas just ended up in like a scatter all over the place. And so now I just use like the system that I was showing you before. Guys, this is crazy. I've went through all my books and you will never guess how many I've donated. I'm not even gonna tell you. Let's just keep going. So number 1 is the Karen Kingsbury book, Longing. This one was part of a series that I showed you guys earlier, so definitely keeping that one. And then I have 2 copies of Since When Did Single Mean Sad. So the story on this one is that Amazon allows you to buy copies This one is a not for resale. You can see the gray tab here. And so that was like an offer copy that I ordered. As you can see, I actually worked my way through it and color coded it. Like all the pages are like color coded and written on. And I plan on doing a video soon about if my book is actually worth it from where I am in my life right now. So make sure you guys subscribe so that you can see the video. It's gonna be interesting. And then I have another copy of Since When Did Single Mean Sad. I think this is just the most updated copy. One thing that they don't tell you is that when you publish a book, you're gonna have like 50 different drafts of your novel, and you're also gonna have like 30 different like hardcover or paperback drafts of your novel, because you have to like approve each one. And I don't really like to throw those away because I like to kind of see my progression of my novel over time. And finally, the last two books, we have 13 by Lauren Miracle. I really like this book because, like I said, I like teen fiction and reading about that time of life. And finally, my planner, very aesthetic. But thank you guys so much for joining me on my unhaul. Anyway, I love you to the moon and back. Make sure if you like this video, you press that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week. Bye.